Welcome to another book review. And today we'll be reviewing Pet Sematary by Stephen King. Released on November 14th, 1983, Pet Sematary was Stephen King's 17th book and 14th novel. The main character of the book is Dr. Lewis Creed, who moves to Ludlow, Maine seeking a new life, and from his neighbor and certain tragedies discovers the dark secrets of the pet cemetery and the horrors which lie beyond it. Other notable characters from the novel include Lewis's wife Rachel, his son Gage, his daughter Ellie, his kindly neighbor Judd, and his wife Norma, and their cat Winston Churchill, which I don't know why you'd name a cat Winston Churchill. I mean, I guess it's better than naming it Hitler or Stalin if you're going to pick a World War II leader. We'll be keeping this review mostly spoiler-free, but I will have to reveal some plot points, so just know that I might reveal some things, but mostly it'll be spoiler-free. Now, with that out of the way, you're probably wondering the first thing, if you don't know anything about Stephen King or Pet Sematary, or you're kind of new to this, why that it's spelled with an S and not a C, and that brings us to our next point, which is the Pet Sematary was built by a bunch of children out in the middle of the woods, and they've kept it for generations. It's where they bury all their pets. Well, obviously they didn't know how to spell cemetery, so it's spelled an S and not a C. So I do, in fact, know how to spell. It's just the way it is spelled for realistic purposes. Really, most people would figure that the novel really centers entirely around the pet cemetery, but that's not really the case. The pet cemetery kind of created a boundary between the native land and Ludlow, and the barrier was never meant to be broken. And so when that barrier is broken and an animal is buried on the other side of the pet cemetery in the Micmac burying grounds, it's resurrected with none of its past soul. It's basically just a corpse. So the first big plot point is, this is a necessary spoiler, but Winston Churchill, the cat, actually dies, and Lewis has it buried in the Micmac burying grounds, and it comes back as a cat that is not the same as it was before. You see, his family was away with his in-laws on vacation, and he stayed in Ludlow, and it wasn't a noticeable enough difference. They knew he was different, but they never figured out that he was buried in the Micmac burying grounds. So that was really the first trouble, that when he buried Church in the pet cemetery, or not, excuse me, the pet cemetery, the Micmac burying grounds, is when the first trouble started. Again, keeping it spoiler free, things really only go south from the point where he buries Church in the Micmac burying grounds. The Micmac burying grounds, it has a certain influence. It is kind of like, has like magic powers, that it needs things to be buried there. And so it really uses its influence to influence all the characters in the worst way possible. And it really, the deeper theme of this novel is grief and how it affects people. And it really is, like, in some places it can be kind of hard to read because it's just so, like, realistic. And if you've ever had a family member lost, it really is pretty realistic and sad. This book reminded me a little bit of Breaking Bad, in which a good man goes slowly over the edge trying to help his family. And I just think that's a really neat parallel that I thought of when I was reading the book, that really Walter White and Lewis Creed kind of went down the same path, and an obsession with family and then themselves, and a good man going slowly bad. Things that I really liked about the book was probably just how realistically it felt, like, emotionally. It just feels so, like, real, and Stephen King is just able to connect with those emotions in a way that doesn't seem possible in other books that I've read. I don't really have any cons about this book, except maybe the ending. I really liked the ending, but it felt like there could have been a little more to the ending than there was, like maybe a few more pages or something. The ending felt a little sudden, but that's just really nitpicky and me being a really harsh critic. So yeah, I'd probably give this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed it. I'll definitely recommend it. Thanks for watching. This is probably going to be my last video for a while because of school starting back soon, so I just wanted to make one more video before school started back. Hope you enjoyed it.